Chinese medicine, the relationship between the person and the environment is extremely important. In this video, we'll talk about the circadian cycle and what we call in Chinese medicine the cycle of yin and yang, the balance of yin and yang. And we're going to see how we can adapt our lifestyle to be in phase with the environment, which will give us a better balance in life. So first we need to understand the balance of yin and yang throughout the day, and it's important to understand that the yang doesn't start to rise only when it's the sunrise, but it's actually starting to. So we can see here on this this picture that the yang, which is the white part here in this picture, starts to rise really at midnight, and so it becomes stronger at around 6 a.m. and it's at its strongest at 12 p.m. So it will be the same for the yin. The yin starts to rise at after 12 p.m. and then it's at its strongest at 12 a.m. So it's important to understand also the idea of the yang rising and descending throughout all the day. So during the morning from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., the yang is actually rising and becoming stronger and stronger, and coming to the external part of the body and the upper part of the body. And then during the second half of the day, from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., it will be the opposite. So the yang will start to get down and to go back to the internal part of the body and to become also weaker. So that's the normal cycle of the day. And we're going to see now how to adjust your daily activities according to this cycle. So first, let's start with the first period from roughly the 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. This will be the morning, the early morning. From a Chinese culture perspective, a Chinese medicine perspective, it's very important to start to wake up early and to start to have some sort of exercise in the morning. So why do we need to do that? It's simple. We need to push and to help out the rise of the yang during the morning to be in phase with this rising movement that is going on through the whole earth. So if you wake up late, for example, if you wake up at 12 p.m., then it will mean that you lost that opportunity to rise in phase with the environment, and you will actually start your activity and start your body to trigger your physiological activities in opposite direction of the environment, which will be much harder. That's why when people tend to wake up late, they have difficulty to have energy throughout the day. That's a very simple thing. Just to give you an example, one of my acupuncture teacher in Beijing, she's called Wang, and she used to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning and then go in the park and do some Tai Chi for half an hour, I don't know exactly, and then go very early at the hospital. She was the first to start consulting patients at maybe 6:30 or 7 a.m. in the morning. And she would see like 80 patients in the whole morning. She would have so much energy. And she was, at that time, she was like 70 years old. And she was still seeing 80 patients every morning and being so active and solving all these problems, helping everyone with their health. So, well, you don't necessarily need to wake up at 5 a.m., but understanding that you need to rise your yang qi in the morning, it's very important. Second thing is about the breakfast. So because the yang is still relatively weak at that time, it's not at its strongest, and our whole digestive system relies on yang qi, relies on warmth and energy. So the breakfast in China, we always have cooked and warm food for breakfast, including, for example, congee. There could be also warm soy milk. There could be some baozi as well. So all these foods are relatively warm and they help the digestive system to transform the food in the morning when the yang is still relatively weak. So then, in Western culture we tend to not use that much warm food, but at least try to have it cooked and avoid some cold food. So, for example, black tea is a really good idea because it's a warm drink and it's hot. But milk is cold in nature, so avoid that. So coffee is okay, but try to avoid with milk. And raw fruits are also a very bad idea for the breakfast because again, the raw fruits are very cold in nature and they will impede the rise of the yang qi. All right, let's move on to the next stage, which will be around noon, so during the daytime. This period is characterized by very strong yang qi that is mostly on the upper parts and the exterior of the body. So at that time, we need to capitalize on this. What we need to do is going out. So that's the time where the yang qi is strongest. So especially people who live in a relatively cold weather, whether it's wind or other climatic pathogen factors around, around noon will be the best time to go out because your yang qi is the strongest. It will be able to protect you against all this wind, coldness, etc. So this is the best time to do so. It's a good time to work as well in general, to work a bit harder than the rest of the day. Regardless of its manual work or intellectual work, it will be the best period for intense work. It's also a good time for socializing because again, our yang qi is mobilized in the exterior of the body and it tends to give us this movement of talking to people, connecting with people, socializing with people. It's something that makes sense at this period. Now we have the second half of the day, which would be really the late afternoon, early evening, from roughly 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. And this is the time when the yang qi is descending and it's going back inside the body. So this period, it's a period where you need to slowly slow down, like gradually slow down your pace. It shouldn't be your highest period of work at that time of the day. In terms of dinner, it's very important to have an early dinner, and anytime before 6 p.m. is amazing. That's the best time. Anything after 6 p.m., so the later you get, the hardest it is on your digestive system. And the reason is very simple, because your yang qi starts to be weaker and weaker throughout the second part of the day. So the later it comes, the harder it becomes for the yang to transform food and bring the nutrients inside the body. We have to remember that we need the warmth and energy and functions to be able to transform food. So yes, first avoiding heavy meal for dinner and trying to have it as early as possible. Also, it's a time when you will need to start to have calming activities, so more reading, music, especially again after 6 p.m. And it's not a good time to start to go out and have parties and stuff like that, because again, your yang qi is trying to go back inside, so it's not very strong in the exterior. If you go out and it's cold outside, there is wind, you may catch this wind cold and get sick because of that. It's not a good time to drink alcohol, because drinking alcohol will bring up your yang qi, and again, it's trying very hard to go back and to go inside. So you're going against the normal movement of your physiology. All right, so more calming activities, indoors activities, it's more intimate time at that time of the day. That would be the best time to do that. So finally, we have the fourth part of the day, which is the night, really. let's say between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. So of course it's a time where you will start to slow down a bit more and become more and more quiet, more and more relaxed. And it's also important because again the yang qi needs to go back to the lower part of the body and internal part of the body. So if you're very active in your mind, if you start to work and solve problems and do all kind of things, the yang qi will not be able to do what it needs to do. So going down and going inside. So a good way to accompany this movement of descent of the yang is to have a food bath. Food bath, they can help you to again bring down the yang qi from the upper parts, so from the mind, from all these this stress and all these activities down to the lower part of the body, so this is a really good thing to do. So similarly, doing mindfulness exercise, meditation are also very good. It's a very good time to do that because you again you bring down all this activity and the yang qi and these functions from the upper parts of the body downwards to the lower abdomen, which is exactly the movement you want to have. So of course it's a moment where you need to prepare for sleep, and then you need to go to sleep, you need to rest, because sleep will allow you to stock back this energy inside your body. And if you don't sleep during the night, you don't stock this energy and this what we call the essence. So I have a few patients that I've treated that actually they did the opposite for years. They, instead of sleeping at that time around midnight, they were doing parties, and they were being creative, working, etc. And the result is they are in their late 20s and early 30s, and they already have kidney essence deficiency. It's something we see generally in people who are 60 years old or 70 years old. So they basically used up all their resources so early in life, and they will struggle for the rest of their life with their health. So that's again very important. You need to have this balance, and the time around midnight is really a time for sleeping. In general, as a common rule, we tend to say you have to be sleeping around 8 p.m. But you'll need to prepare before that. So trying to have this routine in place.